All right, good evening, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I think evening probably, depending on where you're located. If you are in, let's say, the Central or even South America, US, it's probably late afternoon to evening. So good afternoon, evening to everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen just so that I can go ahead and get some things shared right off the bat. So give me one quick second. And Dale, I'm going to have you confirm that you can, in fact, see my screen.
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. All right, perfect. So thanks again, you guys, for joining us. For those who are live or for those who are watching the recording, we're really excited to have Dale with us today, as he's going to be talking about sort of your journey to the Google Innovator Academy, and really just talking about not just getting your certification, but sort of the impact that has on sort of self recreation and evolving in our craft. So we're really excited to have Dell, and Dell, thanks for being with us. This particular hangout, this live hangout, is part of our Impact Lab program that we've launched in Latin America, and we got a chance to work with Dell. We're really excited to have Dell, and thanks for being with us. This particular Dell, is that you or me? Live hangout is part of our Impact Lab program that we've launched in Latin America, and we got a chance to work with Dell. I'm going to pause for a second because we're getting some funky feedback. This particular I'm like muting every tab I have open. Okay, that's probably not, like, I don't know if it's actually muted completely because I stopped talking for a little bit. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna go back in. I'll stop if it does it again. So I was saying that this is a part of the Impact Lab program that we launched in Latin America, and we met Del sometime back in Peru, and he did actually participate in this program, in the Impact Lab program, which is to help build capacity. And I would say that, in just part of what Del has been doing for time, the time even before we met him, and his work since has certainly been in helping build capacity in emerging markets like Latin America. And from there, of course, he's gone to other locations, and so it just makes for a really great sort of background and mix for this highlight today. For those of you who I don't know, my name is Monica Martinez. I'm the regional director for EdTechTeam, and I see our efforts in Latin America and oversee our Impact Lab program. And I wanted to introduce Dale, for those of you who might not know him. Dale, like I said, we met him some time back, and we just felt that he was just such a great sort of addition, and brought a lot to the table, aside from what he does already for the school that he works with there in Lima, the Colegio FDR. He is the learning and innovation coach, but on top of that, as you guys know now, he is a Google certified innovator. He grew up in a small town in Canada, and I would say, though, that even though he came from Canada, he's probably what I would consider a child of the world. And Dale can certainly tell you a little bit more about that. But Dale, because of his dad, right? Dale, you said your dad was a miner.
Yeah, that's right.
And because of that, he basically moved around into different locations, different countries. In fact, different countries in South America, and that kind of led him to want to take that on as a personal goal and to teach in these different areas too, which I think is pretty awesome. Aside from that, and being as busy as I'm sure he is, he loves to surf. And I got to tell you, though, when I first saw this picture, like at first glance, the one on the left where you're surfing, I kid you not, I thought that was an animal in the water with you. I after looking at it more carefully, I mean, you can tell it's a person, but I swear I thought that was an animal. I was like, oh my God. And then, of course, we've got to the right of that, we have Dell's companion dog friend, who is, I believe, around there somewhere, and maybe we'll get a chance to see her a little bit here in maybe some random pop-up surprises.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know why she insists on dressing like that, but she always does. It's funny.
I wonder who does that. So as you guys know, I mentioned this before. So Dell is a Google certified innovator, and he participated in the Innovator Academy that was held in Sweden not too long ago, just this year. And so I invited him to come along on this hangout so that he could share a little bit about his journey. And as you can see here, here's some pictures of sort of a little bit of that. I followed along on the tweets during the 2.5-day event in Sweden when the Innovator Academy was going on, and it just looked like a lot of fun. It looked like you guys just really jive, that it was a great team. You know, everyone that went, it just looked amazing. It looked like it was so much fun. So I've asked Dell to share a little bit with us about his journey there, getting there, also while there, like, you know, everything that happened while he was there and so forth, and also to tell us a little bit about, you know, applying. I know some people who are going to be watching either don't know anything about, you know, being able to get into an Innovator Academy, or maybe there might be some folks who've tried before and haven't gotten in. And so I wanted Dell to kick this off by sharing a little bit about his journey. So Dell, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Monica, for hosting me tonight. And thanks to everyone for watching. I know time is super valuable for teachers, and I really appreciate it. So Google Innovator Stockholm was one of the most incredible educational experiences I've ever had as a teacher, as a learner, as a professional. It was just across the board wonderful. But like many Google innovators, it didn't happen right away. It was my second time applying. I'd say the average applications numbers that it takes for people to get in there was about maybe 3. And we had one of our innovators that I believe it was her 6th time applying to get in. So it's a challenge. It's actually part of the process. I'm convinced that it's one of the things they're looking for in people who go into the program, is that they have a little bit of grit and determination. So it took, all in all, from when I started getting certifications to when I got accepted to the academy, would have been about 1.5 years. And it was, but absolutely totally worth it.
Yeah. Sure. You know, I agree with you in that's part of the journey, and just sort of evolving in the process. And I'd be curious to know, like, because it wasn't, you know, the first time that you got in, it took a couple of times. Like, how did your application change? How did your perspective change in regards to the application and the process?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. The first time I applied, I had a project and idea that was really altruistic, and it was really really beneficial for Peru, but it had some serious problems that were wrong with it. And so I really got my hopes up, and I was like, for sure they're going to accept this. This is a great application, it's a great idea. And then I didn't get accepted, and it was really tough. But I think that was like the first thing that I learned from the Innovator program is, you know, we as teachers always talk about being open and receptive to feedback for our students. And it was really quite a challenge for me to look back at my work and, you know, really kind of objectively look at it and say, okay, what is probably the issue here? And I was able to actually talk to a mutual friend of ours, Michelle Armstrong, who knows a ton about being a Google Innovator. And we actually sat down one day and went through my application. And with her guidance and with her expertise, she was really able to say, well, you might want to think about looking at this, or maybe you might want to change this. But it really it taught me something about sunk cost bias. And that's when just because you've invested a lot of time in something and you feel very strongly for it, that doesn't mean it's necessarily right. So I had to like really take in that feedback and really listen, and then apply it moving forward. And it was really tough, but a really beneficial part of the whole application was learning how to use feedback.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned, like, just that whole idea of grit, and like the idea of being open to feedback and to growth, because, you know, it's about that journey, right? And I feel like the Innovator program is about that, and I feel more people experience that post because you're working through your project and your project takes you on a journey. but for you, it started before, right? Because you were trying to get into something that you weren't accepted into, and so you were trying again, and yeah, and there's sort of that space for either an opportunity to come from it, or you just kind of like, okay, I didn't get in, you're done, right? And it sounds like it was just a good start to your journey in the growth aspect of it.
Yeah, and then, you know, the day when it actually comes and when they release the cohorts, and
yeah,
I can't remember exactly how I learned. I think I saw a tweet with my name in it before I actually received my confirmation email.
Yeah.
And it's like the best feeling of all time to know that you're going to join one of these cohorts. And these cohorts happen in like the most incredible locations, like Sydney, Sao Paulo, and Stockholm. So I think that's also part of it too, is you're in this different environment. You're in for most people anyway, a vastly different space, and you're surrounded by the most incredible people, and that just adds to the energy and the excitement that you feel there.
Yeah, yeah. So for those of you that are listening that don't know about the application, so Dell's been talking about when he reflected back on his application and what he had turned in, and going through it with Michelle and revising some pieces. He was referencing a couple of things, one of which is a video where you get to talk about what you want to focus your effort on. And so part of the Innovator program is meant to give you sort of a challenge in this space to put to action something that you're really, really passionate about. And so Dell, the project that you first came up with versus the project that you then later, the one that got accepted, or that when you got accepted, tell us a little bit about that. So I know it's you're using the hashtag EdPins. Tell us a little bit about what inspired that project.
Yeah, so EdPins, I'm super pumped on this project, and I think it's going to turn out really, really great. What is essentially geotagging of best practices in education, great examples of student work, and it's just basically mapping out learning. And it's doing that by repurposing the review section on Google Maps. So right now, Google Maps is kind of an underused service for schools, right? And I usually say that there's 3 types of school reviews on Google Maps. Number 1 is just like angry trolling. Number 2 is just empty star reviews where it'll say the school is 3 stars with no explanation. And then the third type is usually just like praise, where it's like, oh, I love Mr. Smith, or the food is really good, which doesn't also really tell you so much about the school. So these reviews are really great for finding a taco, or for, you know, finding a restaurant to go out to, but they're not actually that helpful for schools. And how I kind of got inspired to do it was I'm involved in something on Google Maps called Local Guides, which is basically people, nerds really, who go around to different like businesses and cool parks, and you gather like kind of footage of what you see in the parks. And so I really wondered, like, if we are gathering all of this really great information about, you know, different restaurants and parks and cultural events and museums in your city, why is it that schools aren't showing that really kind of helpful, unique stuff? So it's taking that space that already exists, that's already open, and actually trying to kind of work around with it a little bit to make it better for talking about learning is what it's all about. And my first project, why I think EdPins got accepted and the first project didn't, I live in Peru, and Peru is, you know, it's growing very fast and it's developing at an incredible rate, but it's still, educationally speaking, it's quite a bit far behind. And so I had the idea of going out to schools around the city and basically offering them, you know, modern EdTech training. The problem is, though, is that fully relied on just me. So I would be the only person doing it. I would have to coordinate with schools, and it came down to just one person. Whereas the idea for EdPins is much larger than me. It doesn't rely on only me to make it run. So I think that was probably the biggest difference between the 2 projects, and maybe one of the reasons why EdPins became successful in the end.
Well, just in having been a coach at programs. You guys getting feedback? I'm getting feedback. Are you, Dell?
Excuse me?
Feedback from me?
No.
Okay. Just from being a coach, and I can tell you that, you know, we see a lot of projects that come through. For those of you who, you know, are looking to apply and submit an application and submit project ideas, we see a lot of applications around professional development programs. And that's not to discourage anyone from pursuing that by any means, because we'll always need professional development. But we've seen a lot of different things around that topic, and this, what you presented regarding EdPins, was something that was new and different. And I personally like the idea that you repurposed something that exists. It's a platform that's there, that's going to allow you to be able to take that, an existing platform, and make it something that's valuable for education that doesn't currently exist. And that's part of what makes that something that's a lot more innovative. It's new, it's fresh, it's different. And that's what people should be looking to do when they're pitching their innovator ideas, their innovative project ideas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you're totally right that PD is a great, or professional development is a great thing for people to work on, but trying to approach it in a fresh or very unique way.
Yeah.
And one of the best tips I heard for doing this is to keep an innovator journal. So basically throughout your day as you're going around your school or your institution, just keeping a notepad or Google Keep open and jotting down notes of, like, you know, areas where you see room for improvement, or things that are actually affecting your day that are slowing you down or making it harder, or, you know, not leading to as much learning. And by kind of keeping an ongoing journal, you're going to be building up more authentic projects to kind of tackle.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good idea. The other thing too that I wanted to mention about the innovator program and the application, have somebody else read it, have somebody else look at it, have somebody else give you feedback on it before you submit it. And Del, you definitely did that after the first time. You may have done it the first time, but you definitely reached out to your network of people and people who were certified innovators to take a look and give you feedback on that. And that's what I recommend to people too. Like, if you're going to submit an application, reach out to your networks. If you do have people who are either certified innovators already, or within sort of like they've been doing a lot of stuff with Google Education, I would definitely reach out to those folks to get some feedback. Because sometimes we can get so caught up in our idea that we're not thinking of other possibilities around that idea. Yeah. And I want to throw this out there sort of as a resource maybe that some of you might want to try. It's called Crazy Eights, or Ochos Locos for those of you watching from Latin America. So the idea is you take a piece of paper, right? Imagine 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and you fold it to the point where you end up with 8 squares. And then you unfold it, and you have now 8 squares where you can write something. And so if there is an educational problem that you want to solve, the idea with Crazy Eights is for you to identify 8 different ways in which you can solve that problem. Not 8 steps to solve it in one way, but 8 completely different ways to solve that.
And the wilder the better, like the crazier.
Yeah. Like, yeah, exactly, right? Like get as wild and as crazy as you can possibly get with those ideas. Like, even if you don't think they're doable or possible, like jot it down anyway. And typically what happens with Crazy Eights is that it helps identify things that you may have not thought of before. We tend to just default or go with our first idea of how we're going to solve this problem or what we're going to do. And Crazy Eights sort of helps you step away from that one initial idea that you have to start looking at other ways and other things that you can potentially do to solve this one thing that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, so part of the Innovator program, the design thinking component is run by the Future Design School, and we actually did that very activity when we were in Stockholm. And what was really interesting about it is they ask you to go into the program, like obviously you have a plan and you have a really great idea and you've thought about it and you've developed it, but they ask you, don't be married to it. Don't go in stuck and unwilling to look at it or poke and prod and change. And what's really incredible about actually attending there is like the energy and the community and the people that you're around. I mean, it's for educational people, it's overpowering how powerful it is. And one of these really great guys who was in the program, he's from Iceland, his name was Ingvi. And he came into the program with like a really great idea. I remember watching this video and thinking, wow, this guy has really got, you know, a really strong project. But just the design thinking cycle and the energy and the ideas that he was getting, he ended up fully changing his project, and again has an equally awesome, incredible project that he's going to be kicking off soon. So you can't go in stuck and holding on to ideas. It's about being open and letting it flow.
Well, and I like what you say about don't marry your ideas. It's so true because you can't, right? And not only that, if you truly want to come out with something amazing at the end, or if you truly want to have an amazing experience, you have to let your project and whatever it is that you're doing, you have to let it take you on a journey.
Yeah.
If you're married to an idea, then it's going to continue, and you won't get like the best of what you could possibly get out of it. So yeah, definitely great. I love that. We use that saying a lot in design. I was a designer in my previous life prior to education. I was a graphic designer, and that was a saying that we always use is don't marry your design ideas, because you're going to present it and they're going to change a lot. So you can't marry it. Yeah.
When you're at the program, in a lot of ways, like the Innovator program is the model for education for all students, I feel, because we often think like, oh, there's all these ideas I have, but I can't because of schedule and of grading and parents and this and that. But when you're at the Innovator program, you have people from all around the world. We had at least 24 countries represented, all different ages, all different specialties. And by being open to ideas and working with these people, you get the most diverse feedback and opinions on your work. And it's a huge benefit of actually attending the program, is being in this really unique learning community that's, everyone there is super passionate. Everyone there is loaded with energy. And they're really invested in sharing and hearing your ideas, in helping you. And they're like your biggest cheerleaders. They'll test your products. Yeah. It's just really, really incredible. And you want to leverage that. You want to use that energy, those ideas, to make your project better and to grow your idea.
Yeah. Yeah, so I really love that about the Innovator program. It's like you found your tribe, right? Or it's enhanced your tribe. And you're right, like you have the biggest cheerleaders ever. You've got all these people rooting for you all the time, even after the event on social media, and like you have your family of people who are there to help support you and hear you out and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I love that. So you've kind of already tied into this a little bit, but so we have some folks who are listening who might be interested in applying and might be interested in this program. So because you've gone through the process, what would you tell an educator who's interested in applying? Like, what would be your advice? Let's start with their application. What would be your advice there?
So with the application, what I would recommend is, number one, make sure you're following the strict limits that they place on the application. So there's three main parts. Well, there's the certification, which you need to get. Then you need to do your 1-minute video and explaining an idea and kind of showing why this is a valuable idea for pursuing in 1 minute is incredibly challenging. You have to create a slide deck that kind of goes into some of the details and a little bit more technical aspects of your idea. And then you need to give a written application about who you are as a teacher. What type of pedagogy do you follow? Who do you read? Who do you admire in education? And with those 3 or 4 components, then you can send in the application. But you have to be very careful. The first time I applied, I confused 500 words with 500 characters. And that alone is enough to really cost you. So pay very close attention to the requirements of the application would be the first key to success. The second thing I would recommend, which we've already kind of touched on, is when you have everything ready to go, if you can do it in advance of your application, send it out on Twitter. And all Google Innovators, we use a hashtag that's Google EI. And like Google Innovators, we love talking about projects and looking at projects, and it's a super active community. And I was able to do that with my application. I was able to get it out there right away. And a very close friend, a good friend, Carlos, was able to give me some really helpful feedback to make those final tweaks and changes before I send it off. And when I put it up to say, hey, will someone look at this? I had about 5 people who were like, yeah, let's sit down and go through it and check it out. And again, I think that's a huge reason why the second time it was accepted, because I had other people's eyes on it and I was sharing it with the community, and the first time I wasn't. And that was a big, big difference.
Yeah. So I do want to share, since we're talking about like the application, I'm going to share my screen here really quick. I want to make sure everyone knows that's watching. And let me switch gears here. And Del, once again, if you can just confirm that you can see my screen.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, perfect. So we are recording this, and we're also going to give you these slides. There's not a ton of slides on here, but we are going to give them to you because we do have some resources. And this one in particular has a link. It just says certifiedinnovators.com. And hold on 1 second, because I don't think I switched. It'll go back to me. There we go. All right, let me go back in and back into presentation mode. There we go. So, so in this presentation, you'll see one of the pages that's dedicated to the resources, and the very first one that's listed on there is certifiedinnovators.com. And if you go to that website will take you to the training center page that's dedicated to this. And on here, you're going to be able to find more details about what's required. Del mentioned the level 1, level 2. Google Educator level 1, level 2 exams. You have to pass those exams and take those courses to be able to apply for a cohort. And on the same page, you're going to see a listing of when those cohorts will happen. And of course, these were all for 2017, so they've all already happened. In fact, we've got the Brazil one that's going to happen here in a few days. But you'll see this list updated in 2018. So you'll see new locations, new dates, when the application deadline is, etc. So definitely make sure you earmark this one so that you can always come back to it at a later time to review all of that. So I just wanted to share that with you really quick. And so Del, just to sort of, I guess, sum up your experience at the Academy in Sweden, tell us just like what was one of your best takeaway moments from the Academy?
The Academy, it's like the most incredible environment. So, you know, you're going to the Google offices in Stockholm, Sweden, or wherever the Academy is, and it's like the most engaging space wherever, like the use of color, and everywhere you look, there's really cool signage, and there's an insane cafeteria and insanely good food. Everywhere you go, they have a rule, I guess an unwritten rule of the company, where you're never more than 150 feet away from food at any time. So you just, you know, have like the most amazing snacks when you're there. And just the environment is really, really incredible. But I think for me, the biggest takeaway or the most impactful part of the entire Academy was we got to meet, I'm not entirely sure what her position is, but it was a woman named Becky Evans, and she was a leader within Google Education, we'll say. Mm-hmm. And pretty much every person who's involved has a few minutes on the stage where they talk about leadership and about education and about kind of the bigger idea behind becoming an innovator. And she gave this really incredible talk where she talked about something called the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And what she was saying was that when people start working at Google or come to the Academy, sometimes they feel like they're there by mistake, or somehow they've snuck in, or somehow they're there by luck. And it's, you know, I'm pretty sure everyone who's there at some point can kind of feel that, because it is such an incredible space and thing to be a part of. And so for her to say, like, I feel this too at times, and many people who join feel this, but the truth is you're here because we want you here. We've looked very carefully at who you are, and we believe very much in you. So that was kind of one of the capstone speeches of the event. And for me, it was just like, I just left feeling so good, so empowered, and so ready to take the project all the way to the end after that.
Yeah.
It was a really like just powerful message to hear, and delivered like at the perfect time. It was incredible.
Yeah, you know, I would second that, just because I think everyone at some point has probably felt that way. Yeah. And I would say that across the globe. I've worked with people everywhere, all over the world, and I think that is just sort of a feeling that all educators at some point, whether it's you're in the classroom with your kids or you're, you know, trying to teach other educators, you're doing professional development or you're administrator, whatever like area, whatever area you work, I think it's something we've all sort of felt that way. And it is very empowering to hear from others how, how they have felt that way too. But I think it's a really great way to remind us that it's because what we're doing matters so much to us that we sometimes feel like an imposter in our sort of in our own little, in our own space of everything that's done in this world. And so yeah, I feel like just you sharing that with me now, it just sort of reminds me once again, like it's very empowering. Knowing that we're not alone, we're all in this together, we're all doing a lot of this stuff together. So thanks for sharing that. That's definitely a really great takeaway moment from your experience there. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs because we've got people that have been joining us from all over the world. We've got people from Japan, we have people from Colombia, and I just saw Oscar from TechStop. He just jumped in. He's in Mexico now, but he's from Barcelona. We've got people in the States as well. We have quite a few folks that are around the States that have also joined in. So thanks you guys for joining us. We know this is at different hours of the day for all of you, so we really appreciate your time in being with us online. So to sort of wrap some of this up already and give you some more resources for you guys to use. One couple of things that I wanted to make sure that we shared with you guys are some resources. So give me a sec. I'm going to share my screen once more. We're going to come back. So I've already mentioned the certifiedinnovators.com link. And again, that's where you're going to find information regarding what you need to do and what's required, and then of course the listing of where the new innovator application deadlines and where they're going to be and all that kind of good stuff is going to be listed. So definitely check out certifiedinnovators.com. On top of that, if you happen to know someone who you feel would be great for this program, definitely click on the link that says nominate innovator and put in the information in there. Definitely take the opportunity on their behalf to go in there and nominate them. This is also a really great way for us to sort of see some of what we might otherwise not be able to see, and you can sort of shed light on that. So if you know people who are doing some really amazing, great things, and you think they'd be a great fit, then definitely nominate them.
Yeah, that's a really great kind of shot in the arm or kind of pat on the back to give your fellow teachers as well, is to nominate them, say what they're doing. And then it's kind of like a few weeks later, they get this email kind of out of the blue that says, hey, you're doing a great job. Why don't you look into this program? So it's a really great way to encourage and empower other teachers.
Yeah, definitely. And also I have a link there for you guys. It says subscribe for updates. And this is for our team, for EdTechTeam. We're constantly sending out updates anytime we do any of these live hangouts to give you more details, things like that. You can always go, if you subscribe to that link, then you will be receiving that kind of information from us. So if you're interested in that, please do subscribe. And I'll let Del tell you a little bit more about the level 1 and level 2 study notes. These are actually some resources that Del found via another EdTech fellow colleague, and that he wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to pull them up, and Del, meanwhile, feel free to talk over as I'm pulling these up on the screen.
Yeah, so I came across these resources when I was at South by Southwest. I met a really wonderful trainer from New York. His name was Joe Farrell, and he's on Twitter. You can look him up. And what these are sort of the condensed notes of what is required for passing the exams. Now, it's super important that you get comfortable with all of the tools and you feel like you can command them. But these are kind of like nice little capstone pieces before you sit down to write the exam, to go through and just kind of hammer home the technical details. So they're a really great little resource to add to the materials that are already out there for passing level 1 and level 2. And they're totally free, and they're being updated as they go. So it's what you can look at to kind of help you get over the edge when it actually comes time to write level 1 and level 2 certification exams.
Yeah, those are great. And just to kind of add to that a little bit for everyone, So the level, Google Educator Level 1, Google Educator Level 2 are definitely the two courses and exams that you want to complete prior to submitting an application for the Innovator Program. And those two resources that Del just shared with you will be really great guides. It's not the exact questions you can expect to see in the exam, but it will help you certainly prepare on top of what you would get from the course itself when you actually go through both Level 1 and Level 2 courses. So thanks, Del, for sharing those. I actually didn't know about those resources, and they look great. So thanks for sharing those with us. All right, I'm going to jump back in really quick to the presentation to sort of wrap this up. Also, those of you that are in the live stream at this moment, if you have any questions, now's a good time to certainly drop those in if you haven't already. May I continue?
Question, yeah, about the project. We can maybe talk a few minutes about some of the resources.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wanted to share with everyone. I've just pulled up on the slide here, and I won't put it in presentation with it because I want to go back to Del to talk a little bit more about this. But for those of you interested in learning more about Del's project or getting involved with Del's project, you see on the screen right now, I've got the hashtag EdPins and the handle as well for Twitter, and that's one way in how you can stay connected with him and on his project. But I do want to let Del jump in and just share a little bit with you. He's got a website, and so I want him to just share a little bit of that with you. So Del, if you want to go ahead and share your screen next, that would be great.
Okay, here we go. Can you see it, Monica?
I cannot see yet. I don't see your screen yet. Oh, well, yeah, it's me, because it's me twice. So yes, I see your screen, but I see you. There you go. Now you're good.
All right. So this is the EdPins website, and you can navigate over to edpins.org. Right now, the URL is a little bit different, but edpins.org will take you over here. And this is going to be the home base for the project. So here we have the mission statement. And it says that EdPins, our mission is to put learning on the map by highlighting the beautiful, unique work in every school. This video right here is actually my Stockholm application video. It's not the EdPins video that's going to be up in a couple more weeks here, but if you are interested in seeing my application or how the video needs to look or how I edit it or any of that kind of stuff, you can have a look at this video. And then down here is where we're going to collect all of the map entries for schools that are submitted on EdPins. If you're interested in learning a little bit more of the technical details of the project, you can come into About and find some of my code of conduct or why you might want to participate or a little bit about what EdPins is. And we have some sample entries down here. But probably the two most important tabs would be Submit. And then this is where you can go to actually contribute to the project and to share the learning that is happening in your school and actually get your school on the EdPins map. It's not quite ready to go yet, and as soon as it is, I'm going to take the lock off of it and be promoting it. And then the other very important part is the sharing tab. And this is where you can find the username, the official hashtags, and a live feed of the project. So whenever new schools get submitted, or wherever I'm sharing like a launch information about the project taking off, this is where it'll all get posted. And you can follow that on Twitter at edpins1. I missed out on EdPins without the number by about 1 month. It was a real bummer.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. It almost makes you want to reach out to that person and be like, "Are you really here? Can I like have it?" Yeah. But still, no, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing a little bit about that. I know Del and I talked a little bit about the progress of that and where it's at, and so we're really looking forward to seeing it when it fully launches.
Yeah, it'll be very, very soon. So we're going to film the video that's going to explain everything in about 2 weeks, and then hopefully in about 3 more weeks I'll be able to share with everyone and actually have people participate in the project. And I can't wait for it.
Awesome, that's great. All right, everyone, just a couple of questions came through in the live chat, and I want to make sure everybody does know this about the Innovator Program. In the past, it was mostly meant for teachers, and so mostly teachers were the ones applying. And when the Innovator Program was revamped a couple of years ago, it allowed for non-teachers to also be able to apply. So it's expanded into other positions or other people in the education space. And so if you are an administrator, a principal, an instructional coach, and of course a teacher, anyone really in education that has a passion for education and wants to innovate their practice is definitely welcome to apply. And definitely those of you who are nominating people, those are sort of the groups of people that you would be nominating. So be sure to apply. Don't think it has to be only teachers. That did change when they revamped that. They had allowed people in before that weren't necessarily teachers, but majority of the folks that were applying and that were getting in were teachers, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. So definitely take advantage of that. Another question came in as far as what order should you go in? Should you get level 1, level 2, and then trainer, then innovator, or should it be level 1, level 2, innovator, then trainer? There is no requirement for having to have the trainer certification in order to be an innovator. However, it might actually help your application in showing sort of the dedication and also the breadth of knowledge that you would have on not only the Google tools, but technology integration as a whole, especially if you've been on the side of both maybe in the classroom or on the side of delivering. Yeah, I just think it's a plus. So if you do have the time to do the trainer before the innovator, I would recommend it if you're able to.
Yeah, help but not required.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Yes. All right, you guys, I'm going to share the last few screens here, and then we're going to call it. I want to just pull up a couple of hashtags. Del already mentioned EdPins. And Del, if you can confirm that you can see my screen once again.
I can, yeah.
All right, so EdPins is right on up there. Of course, EdTechTeam, we're constantly putting things out. And then we've got the LATAM Impact is, again, part of our Impact Lab programs that we launched in Latin America. And are just super proud of Del coming out of Latin America now that he's, well, because he's been in Peru for some time now and was a part of that program. So super proud of him and the work he's done. And we're just looking forward to seeing where this is all going to go. If you guys want to learn more about the Impact Lab program or learn about just kind of the stuff that's being shared or connect with people in South America like Del, you can go to edtech.team/LATAM Impact for that info. And yep, let's just go ahead and wrap up here. We're going to come back just so that we can say goodbye, so that it's not just my screen here. And Del, I don't know. Let's see, is your pal around?
Oh no, you know what? She's conked out for the night.
Oh.
Come here.
Oh, don't wake her.
Come here, Sleepy.
Oh.
She wanted to say goodbye to everyone.
There she is. I know. She's like, why do you wake me up?
The girl hasn't stayed right now.
Oh, it's so cute. She's like, I want to go back to bed. Can you just like oh, very cute. Awesome.
Yeah, but thanks to everyone for watching. And if anyone has any questions about what we talked about tonight, you can reach out to either myself or to Monica.
Yeah,
We'd love to chat.
Absolutely. Yes. Thanks everyone for joining live or on the recording, which as a reminder, we did record this and we do have that presentation with those resource links. So you will be seeing that tweeted out. So if you want to be able to find that, definitely look for the EdTechTeam hashtag, EduPins hashtag, the LATAM hashtags, all three of those hashtags that I shared earlier. So yeah, thanks so much, you guys. Everyone have a great night.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.